everybody? Welcome into the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, Nick Padone coming at you right after the weekend. We just get back, and it is my pleasure to welcome back to the show. I get to say back to the show this time. None other than Chris Gimenez, former Major League catcher, of course, spent time here with our Cleveland then Indians. Chris, how you doing today, man?
What's up, boys? Happy Easter, man. It's a good day outside. Maybe a little rainy, but other than that, a good day.
Happy Easter, Chris. Glad we get to have you back on the program. Appreciate you hopping on. We'll jump right into it, talk some Cleveland Guardians, sweep the Pittsburgh Pirates, the lowly Pittsburgh Pirates, I should say. Sorry for them. That Paul Skeens bobblehead day didn't go exactly as planned for them. Ben Lively got the win that day. But the Guardians finish off the 3-game sweep of the Pirates. They go 4-2 on this road trip, Chris. Much better than the 3-6 road trip to start that 9-game road stretch against Kansas City, San Diego, and the Los Angeles Angels. Will start here, Chris. Your biggest just takeaways from the sweep over in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you're a team that's has some expectations, you need to take care of business against the teams that you're supposed to take care of business against. And thankfully, they were able to do that in Pittsburgh. And guess what? They had to do it against two pretty damn good pitchers, too. I mean, Mitch Keller's not bad at all. And obviously, we know what Paul Skeens is and how he's done in his short career so far. So I think as bad as the Pirates have been, they had to face two pretty good guys and put up some good at-bats and some good run innings against them. So I think, to me, this is a continued sign of things that we're going to start to see coming. And coming off of Baltimore, where the first game was great and the second two weren't as awesome, I think this was a nice little momentum builder coming into this week's matchup versus the Yankees and Boston Red Sox.
Chris, it's also now, it's a busy week here in Cleveland sports to start the show. We got the NFL draft later this weekend, Cavs playoffs in the thick of it, Monsters hockey playoff getting started this week, Jack, and most importantly, it's Yankee hate week.
Yes, it is.
Talk a little bit about playing the New York Yankees, and that series always just means a little bit more, doesn't it?
For sure. Yeah, it does. It's funny how that is, no matter how good or bad they actually are. I mean, they're usually never really that bad, but occasionally, I guess they have a bad or a down year, which doesn't happen often, but there's something about beating them. And I think you add on what happened last year. Obviously, there's a little bit of bad blood, maybe not bad blood between the two teams, but I think from the fan base perspective, it would be really, really nice to win this series at home. And it starts tonight. Clark Schmidt just came off the injured list, and this guy's pretty good. We're going to have to get to some of these guys at the front end of this rotation and hopefully not see too many of those guys at the back end of their bullpen.
Yeah, so Chris, there is an elephant in the room. For some people, it's a huge elephant. For some people, it's a toy elephant on the floor. Maybe you're somewhere in the middle. Are you worried at all about Emmanuel Clase yet, or do you think we're just good to roll and it's just rough couple days?
No, man, I think that's actually a great question, dude. To be honest with you, I think he's going to be just fine. And I know you've heard Stephen Vogt talk about this. You've heard everybody talk about this, myself included. I do think, though, that there are some things right now going on in his head that he needs to get out of there. Not that there's any demons going on, but it wasn't fair for us to expect him to come back and throw up a .06 ERA again.
Yeah.
But that also doesn't mean he needs to have a 6 ERA. Somewhere in between there would be great for us, I think. But I think we're starting to get to that point, where it's like, okay, we need to take a deep dive under the hood. We need to figure out exactly what's going around. And I don't necessarily think it's a pitch mix anymore. I think where he's getting beat is the heart of the plate. And again, this is a guy that pounds the strike zone. But with that velocity, with that movement, with his tenacity on the mound, you're not used to seeing, the type of quality contact. And yesterday, give up 4 straight hits. A couple of them were hit pretty well. Occasionally he's going to give up a dinker here or there, or something that finds some green grass, or just a jam shot. But the quality of contact is starting to come back a little bit. And I think they're going to have to figure out something mechanically with him, because he just doesn't look right. And you can kind of see that look in his face, even, that he's kind of wondering what the heck's going on right now. So until they figure that out, I think it's going to be a little bit of hit and miss. You're going to see some good, you're going to see some bad, but they may need to pick and choose their spots to kind of use them.
Yeah, Chris, so I'm not an MLB manager for a plethora of reasons. But one tiny
Me
thing,
either, dude.
Yeah. But one tiny thing I've noticed so far is, like, about a lot of these back-end relievers have gotten used a lot early in the season.
Yeah.
Like Cade Smith went 2 days in a row this weekend. Emmanuel Clase went 3 days in a row. Tim Herron went back-to-back days as well, I believe, in this series. Is there anything at all you think that can go into it with Jacob Junis, Tristan McKenzie, and crap, the third name is escaping me. We have 3 long relievers right now. Do you think we'll kind of transition
Joey
to more...
Cantillo.
Joey Cantillo.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll transition more to a couple of like shorter inning guys as the year goes on?
I honestly, yes, I do. I don't think we can carry, 3 long guys in the bullpen. It's just not feasible for where we're at from a roster construction standpoint. Now, with that being said, I mean, Tristan, I think is probably the better fit to be that guy throughout the year. Jacob Junis can give you multiple innings, but I think he's going to potentially work himself into a higher leverage type stuff. You've got Paul Sewald, who again is an established closer that has thrown some high leverage innings for Vody already this year. I think taking a little bit of pressure off these guys, and that will happen by nature, just as starting pitchers get built up, they're a little bit more willing to maybe push these guys into that 6th inning, maybe even beyond that at certain times. But we saw it last year. They have a plan in place to where they try to keep these guys fresh. Yeah, they had 4 relievers with 70 plus innings last year, 70 plus appearances, some of those 70 innings. But most of those were kept under 20 pitches. And I don't know if there's necessarily any like residual coming off of last year. I just think it's more of we were due to see some sort of regression. And for the most part, this bullpen's been really good with Jacob Junis, the additions of, and Paul Sewald. And you start to see maybe a little bit of Joey Cantillo come in there and throw some shorter stints as well.
I want to go back to Emmanuel Clase real quick, Chris. You
Sure.
mentioned it's not possible or it's not realistic to expect to be as dominant as he was last season.
Right.
You mentioned just 5 earned runs and over 74 innings. Now this season, already 9 runs, right?
Right.
And this isn't it is a new struggle for Emmanuel Clase in the regular season, but you go back to last year where it kind of imploded, for lack of better words, into the playoffs. Just how hard is that I mean, as a closer, you got to have the utmost confidence in yourself, maybe
Sure.
in any position in baseball. How hard is it to go just start anew after, I hate to say collapse, but that's really what it was in the playoffs, starting a new season? And then also I wanted to ask you about Emmanuel Clase. You go back to that first series of the season in Kansas City where he catches Jonathan India in the face with a cutter. Is that something that pitchers, it's hard for them to flush? Because obviously that was with no intent, but I got to imagine that's traumatic seeing you hit a guy in the face with a 98-mile-per-hour ball.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point that you bring up. That I've seen this happen a lot in the past to where it takes a guys a little bit of time to kind of shake that, because again, you're never trying to, I mean, even if you're trying to intentionally hit somebody, you're not throwing at their head, right? I mean, you're throwing at the mass of their body. And sometimes when there's that hatred in there, if it hits them in the head, sorry, so be it. Obviously that was not the case, opening series against Kansas City. And I could see there being a way, man, where it does kind of mess with him mentally a little bit, because we didn't see that last year at all either.
Right.
We saw him attack the inside part of the zone against righties. And that's, to me, where I felt like he kind of went a little wrong last year in the playoffs, that he shied away from what made him so dominant last year to go more towards maybe a hitter's weakness than his particular strength. And I'm a big believer in pitcher strengths. I don't care if they line up with the hitter's weakness. You're going to take that chance because you need your pitcher to be convicted in what he's trying to do. And I'm not saying that Emmanuel Clase wasn't convicted in being able to throw the ball to the other side of the plate. He obviously can do that just fine. But I think one of the things that makes him such a dominant closer is, dude, number one, you throw 99. That's nothing to,
hard to
bat an eye at. Yeah, that's pretty damn hard to hit. And not only that, there's like 17 to 24 inches of horizontal break on this thing, a cutter at 99. Like, that's the most insane metrics on a pitch literally ever. And the fact that a human body, like, that's why I keep calling him a wizard. Like, how in the heck do you even do that, first and foremost? He doesn't even know how he does. He just grabs the four-seamer and throws it, and it comes off the way it works. But with that being said, shying away from one of your strengths, that just kind of puts that thought in your head unintentionally, right? That you don't even know you're doing it, but you lose that feel for the ability to have that release point to where it was the most part of last year. And, you let one slip up and in like that, it hits a guy. And now the next thing you know, you're like, dang, man, I don't know if I want to go in there again. I don't feel comfortable with it right now. So I'm going to try to stay away. And you don't have that release point either. That's when you start getting stuck in that middle part of the zone, the heart of the strike zone. Then you add in the adjustments that a lot of these guys in the league are making. They're attacking him early in the count in particular. and it's kind of been a recipe for what we've seen so far. So to me, for him to be able to really get back, he needs to trust the fact that 99 with cut like that on the inner part of the plate to right-handed hitters, that's damn near impossible to hit. I mean, yeah, you're going to give up a hit every now and again just because of dumb luck. But if he can get back to kind of pounding that inside part of the strike zone, I think that really opens up everything else for him.
So, Chris, I'm a big agenda pusher, crusade leader, whatever you may call it for given players.
Yeah.
And one of my guys is Logan T. Allen, the man himself,
I
coming
love
off
it,
the
dude.
W yesterday. Always been a big Logan Allen guy, but the Twitter burners are coming at me. They're saying,
I
oh,
know.
he beat the Pirates and he beat the White Sox. Good for him. Whatever. What is the reason that we should believe in Logan Allen as a legit guy in this rotation for 2025 and forward?
I love that you love him, Jack, because he's one of my favorites too.
LTA, baby.
Dude, that's right. He's a bulldog, man. Like, okay, is the stuff the best on the staff? No, it's not. And I don't think that's a real reach to say that. But what this guy lacks maybe in pure velocity and stuff, he makes up for in that mentality that he has. Like, he's always on attack. He's just like Ben Lively, except for Lively has a tendency to maybe get some better results, right? Like, you're getting some different types of hitters in there against Logan Allen because he's left-handed than you are against Ben Lively because he's right-handed, right? Most of the power hitters we see in our division in particular that are platoon type guys are going to face lefties, not righties. So, Ben has a little bit of an advantage in that situation, but Logan's mentality, man, like, this guy is an absolute bulldog. He's not afraid of you. He's not going to shy away from you. He's going to go right after you. And I think when we've seen him really good, who cares if it's against the Pirates and the White Sox? Would we be saying anything if it was Bybee shoving against those
Nope.
guys or Gavin Williams? Like, no, you expect your guys because we expect our guys to be better than those teams, or at least I do, maybe. I expect my guys to be better than those teams. So I expect them to go out there and do what they're doing. And you can't really control who you're facing. You can just go out there and do what you do. And I think what we saw from him in spring training is not a farce, man. Like, that's to me who Logan Allen is. Is he going to light the world on fire? No. Is he going to win a Cy Young? I'm not going to say he can't, but is
Better
the
not.
probability high? Yeah, I mean, probably not. But this guy's a legit fourth or fifth starter that can go out there and eat up innings and be a guy that can neutralize a good, even a Yankee lineup if he has to.
All right, Chris, we got to take a break, but when we get back, having you stick around, I've got to ask you about a guy who just absolutely launched a baseball into the river, and that's one Kyle Manzardo. So stick around, Chris. We'll be right back.
You got it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack Ork, Nick Fedone, joined, of course, by Chris Gimenez. Before we get back to baseball, I got to tell you real quickly about our great friends over at Fairway Ford. Fairway Ford, Ohio is the biggest Ford truck dealership in the entire state. They have the largest selection of Ford F-150s, and they will not be beat on price by any other dealer. You can see right there above me, every month is truck month at Fairway Ford, up to $8,000 off your new ride, as low as 1.9% APRs. You can't beat it, so do not let a short drive to Canfield prevent you from saving literally thousands of dollars on your new truck. Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing, and the same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com. That's fairwayfordohio.com. All right, we are joined by Chris Gimenez, former Major League catcher, of course, spent time here with our Cleveland Indians. I want to talk to you, Chris, about Kyle Manzardo. Hit 5 homers last year in 53 big league games. This year, he's already hit 6 through just 20 back-to-back shots against the Pirates in back-to-back games, and one that absolutely sailed over the right field wall into the river. Chris, what are you seeing out of this young kid?
Oh man, isn't this a sight for sore eyes? Because boy, do we need some power in this lineup, and Manzo's kind of been the one to to really provide it. He's hit the ball, obviously as far as anybody on the team, but as hard, as consistently as anybody on the team. And I know the average isn't really anything to write home about. It's actually borderline Chris Gimenez type average, but this dude can hit the ball really hard, really consistently, and he's giving you quality at bats. And I think we're starting to see his confidence, really show out at the big league level. We saw it the second half of last year when he got called back up. When he was called up initially last year, I feel like he was so in between. Like, that happens a lot to young players when you get called up to the big leagues, especially guys that are known for controlling the strike zone or knowing the strike zone. You could see he was in between pitches. Like, he was waiting for that perfect pitch that he felt like he was going to get, and he never really got it. But when he came back a second time, he was much more aggressive, in particular, like to the pull side, not being afraid to let the barrel fly a little bit. And that's what I've seen so far this year. Like, dude, when you're turning around 100 from Paul Skeens into the Allegheny, like, okay, sign me up for that. Yeah, I'm here for that one.
Chris, obviously, too, it's so early in the season, and that's what makes, some of these guys super exciting. Some of these guys, maybe a smidge frustrating because we know that there's such a long way to go. Way too early to division watch, but 10 straight home games at this point of the schedule probably has to feel pretty good to kind of settle into a routine here before the summer months really get going.
For sure. And I think too, coming off of last homestand where they went 5-1, had a chance to sweep, which again is everything you could ever ask for from a homestand. I think we play better at home. Last year we were 50-30 at home, had the best home record in baseball. To me, there's a comfort level with being at home. Now that these guys have been in and been out and back again, this whole new stadium, all the new stuff that they've done at the stadium, by the way, if you guys haven't checked it out, like, go check it out. There's some really killer spots to go eat now.
It's awesome.
Some cool spots to watch a game. Like, they've done a really good job. But then from the player side of things too, it's a whole new clubhouse. I mean, they're still trying to figure out like what door opens to what at this point, because everything in there is so different now. But to me, it's easier to do everything at home. Your family's here. You're sleeping in your same bed. Sometimes being on the road can be good for those of us with families. I'm not going to lie, because you actually get some sleep. But there is that comfortability of being at home, being around your family, being in your own bed, having the ability to do your routine the way you want to do it, whether that's getting in the weight room at a certain time, the training room, the batting cages, like your video work, whatever you want to do. It's just a lot easier to get your stuff done at home, and I think we're starting to see that play out a little bit.
So, Chris, kind of the last thing I really need to see before I'm sold on 100 wins. We got one thing remaining in the tank, and that is going to be the breakout of Gavin Williams and Tanner Bybee, which we know is a matter of when and not if. Gav gets the chance on the bump tonight. Kind of had a rough start against the Yankees in the playoffs, but he's a guy who's a big dude, he's a bit of a hoss. Do we see Gavin get back on the right track tonight?
I do. I think so. Honestly, I think the sky is the limit for this kid. Him and Bybee leading the rotation, honestly, and then you got Beebs coming back at some point here in the next, month plus, probably 2+ months. Like, that is a disgusting three-headed monster that not only can spin the ball with the best of them, but they're tenacious, man. Like, you're right. Gavin is a monster. He's a unit. Like, dude, 6'7", like 250. Like, that's not a small dude. He's a linebacker, man. So you add in the fact that, his velocity's ticked up a little bit this year. He's healthy. There's a lot, in my opinion, to like about Gavin. And I think today is one of those days that we could see him go out there and just dominate a Yankee lineup that's been pretty damn good this year. That's kind of leading the league in a lot of stuff. Now, some of that's skewed from 2 games that they've had where they've put up like 17+ runs, one of them being, opening day against Nestor Cortez, their old buddy, which kind of sucks for my fantasy team, but I'm still reeling from that one. But yeah, I think Gavin is a top of the rotation starter, and he's one of my dark horses for a Cy Young this year, just because this dude's got the stuff to do it. He's just got to go out there and be healthy and have the time to go out there and let his stuff play out.
Chris, last one for me. Jack mentioned the agenda pushing with Logan Allen. A guy that I'll admit I push the agenda for hard is Nolan Jones. And Nolan Jones, moving to the 2-hole, we saw these last 2 games, 3 for 6, a double. And by the way, 4 at-bats ending with an exit velocity of or above 100 miles per hour. What are you seeing out of Nolan Jones, and do you like him at the 2-hole, sliding Jose back to that 3 spot where he's naturally used to hitting?
Yes, Hosey's definitely naturally used to hitting there. And I think too, with Nolan Jones there and Hosey in the 3 spot, it really lengthens our lineup out a lot because then you can have Santana go back, you can have Manzardo go back, just in the lineup a little bit. To me, you got Angel Martinez in there who's had some pretty good at bats for us this year. A guy that I would love to see getting going is John Kenzie Noel. And again, I think that'll happen. It's early season, little scuffle. Like I'm not necessarily worried about it, but Nolan Jones, to me, this could end up being one of the biggest steals of the year. I mean, we're talking about a guy who obviously the organization knows well. They drafted him not too long ago, and they had him not too long ago. But for whatever reason, was ended up, traded for David Fry, I believe. And that actually has turned out to be a pretty good trade for us too. But what I like about this kid is number one, the potential. Like you talked about the exit velocities, like this kid smashes the ball and he's got a really good eye at the plate. There's some swing and miss in his game. Yes, so be it. That's going to be the way it is with a lot of power hitters. But to me, this guy's got the ability to kind of change the game from the left-handed side. Like there's power in there, there's speed in there. He can play multiple positions in the outfield, probably still getting used to center field, which he may have to play a little bit here and there. And let's not forget, he came up as a third baseman. So the fact that he's made that transition to the outfield, I think has been a real positive sign. But we're talking about a potential rookie of the year type talent here that we traded for Tyler Freeman. And I love Tyler Freeman to death. I think he didn't get enough credit for what he brought to the team, not only, on the field, but in the clubhouse as well. But we're talking about a game-changing type talent here. And if he can continue to show that he can produce in the 2-hole, I think that lengthens out our lineup significantly. It keeps Hosey happy in the 3-hole where he's a little more used to hitting. And you wouldn't think it'd be a big deal. Like, okay, dude, you move back one spot. But like, trust me, when you're getting used to stuff and you have a mental, clock that goes off in your body when the game starts, like it takes a little bit of time to change. And if we can keep Hosey in that 3-hole, great. If we can keep him in the 2-hole, even better, because the stats say, man, that's the most times the player comes up to plate is that 2-hole. And I would want my best player hitting as many times as possible as well.
Chris Gimenez, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you hopping on with us again. Go show him some love on socials at Chris Gimenez5, Instagram and X. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. And me and Jack and Nick, we are going to work and do our best to get this wiffle ball game rolling. We got Carlos Baerga. We could do a team Baerga.
I know. He told me about it last homestand too. He was like, hey, we got to go play.
And we're going to do our best to schedule it because that would be so much fun. Chris, appreciate you hopping on again. And
you're confirmed drafting us, right? We are on your
side. We're automatically.
Absolutely.
Okay, just confirming.
Yes.
Just confirming.
We're automatically.
There's confirmation right here. Yes.
I got picked as last as a kid in recess a lot, so I always got to make sure that my spot on the roster is there.
Safe, man. I get it. That's smart.
Chris, thanks so much for hopping on, man. Appreciate you and hope to have you on again soon.
You got it, guys. Anytime. Thanks again.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Gimenez. We got to take a break. When we get back, we're flipping it over to basketball. Cavs get a win over the Miami Heat. They open the series with a win. We'll be right back on The Big Factor. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, boys. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Thanks, Chris.
You got it, guys.
Hey everybody, welcome back to The Big Factory on the Big Play Sports
Little height
Network.
difference here.
Like, we got a call to the bullpen. I'll have to fix Rob's shot a little bit, coming in for basketball, taking over for Jack. But before that, I got to tell you about our great friends over at Garage Beer. Garage Beer comes in just 2 flavors, guys. Classic Light Lager and Lime, as you can see right above me. Or scan that QR code to go visit their website, drinkgaragebeer.com. No frittles, no bitterness, no IPAs. It's just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who drink garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com. Nick, I will start with you. Okay, Cavaliers, they get the win over the Miami Heat, 121-100. They get the series opening victory. What'd you see out of our Cavaliers?
I mean, everything. That was the perfect game one. If you're a Cavs fan, you saw everything that you wanted to see and that you needed to see out of our Cleveland Cavaliers. First and foremost, the core four looked as competent in that game as we've seen them in any playoff game over the last 2 years. All of Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen looked really good. It was nice that you didn't really need a whole lot of scoring out of Jared Allen and Evan Mobley because you got so much out of DG and Donovan. Ty Jerome was really the story off the bench. Listen, I told you guys this all along. The first round of the NBA playoffs for a team that's worth a lick should be pretty easy. I didn't really care whether it was the Magic, the Hawks, the Heat. I think game one gave us a little bit of a taste that it should be pretty easy for this team. So I'm looking forward to watching this first round continue. You're going to need the same contribution from Ty Jerome when this thing flips on the road. Playing in Miami won't be as easy as playing in Cleveland. Rob, I know you were there last night. That arena sounded like it was rocking, and game one was exactly what you wanted to see out of these Cavs.
Yeah, Rob, you were at the game. You were at Rocket Arena for the victory. Tell me, what was the crowd like? What was the energy like? And what were your biggest takeaways from this Cavs one?
Absolutely deafening in the arena. First off, everyone put on their shirts. That's the first thing with NBA playoff basketball. I saw some games where the crowd was too cool to put on the shirts. Everyone had a shirt. Everyone had a towel. It was deafening in there. Everyone's getting hyped. Ty Jerome, when he goes on that late run in the fourth, you hear him dribbling the ball at the court, the whole arena. You can't hear anything going on. They're blowing whistles. You can't hear anything. My biggest takeaways were I love the fact that we kind of had a little bit of a sloppy start to the game and that we still were easily just handling Miami. Like, I was never worried about it because you knew they were off for a little bit. Donovan had rested some. You had some early drop passes, a little bit of mishaps, but that was cool. They kept just going. They weren't worried whatsoever. My absolute biggest takeaway, though, was just the belief that you could see this team has. They've been sick of the past failures. They had a video package they played where they talked about the play-in loss to Atlanta, the loss to the Knicks, the loss to the Celtics. This team has been through it all, and they now really believe that they're championship contenders. You can see by how Donovan Mitchell went up to Duncan Robinson, just pushed him out of the way, how he was getting the crowd into the game. DG, the same thing. That demeanor they carry is that of a championship team. And that's what I saw out there.
Ty Jerome, I believe, because of the game restrictions or the new rules, ineligible for Sixth Man of the Year. But, I mean, this game was a perfect example of the value that he brings. 28 points, 16 of those in the fourth quarter, 6 for 7 from 3 in the fourth quarter. 2 points shy of Kyrie's playoff debut, of course, is Ty Jerome's first playoff game, when Kyrie had 30 in game 1 of 2015. How big has just Ty Jerome's impact been on the club this year?
I mean, it's massive because you looked at this offseason and a lot of people, we talked about it on the show a ton. Kobe Altman, a lot of grief for sticking with the core four, didn't make any big moves. Ty Jerome was a big move. Ty Jerome only played 2 or 3 games last year for the Cavs. He had the world's most mysterious ankle sprain. We just didn't see any of them. We never heard any update on how he was coming along. The Cavs played pretty much all of last year with no backup point guard, and now you see Ty Jerome take over this role. And I love nationally, the narrative has already shifted to how do the Cavs keep Ty Jerome on their roster for 2026? Because this is truly a piece that should be considered a part of this Cavs young core in a similar way as DeAndre Hunter, still under contract for 2 full more seasons after this. They should probably work something out with Ty Jerome as well because he means a ton to this group.
Yeah, excuse me. I said it was Ty Jerome ineligible. DeAndre Hunter ineligible. Ty Jerome can get the Sixth Man of the Year award.
I know how they could clear that space to keep Ty Jerome on the team.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they're going to have to find a way. And the thing is, too, if this team does what we want them to, and if you win an NBA title, a good owner, and Dan Gilbert is a great owner, is going to find a way to run it back and then find a way to make sure Ty Jerome's still in the mix, whether that's getting creative with the cap space, whether that's just tapping into the luxury aprons. Dan Gilbert's going to find a way to make it work.
Everybody, beginning of the season, we talked about how important Evan Mobley would be in the playoffs, and that's still going to be the case. But you look at this game, Evan Mobley, just 9 points, 4 of 10 shooting. And, of course, it was the Donovan Mitchell show I mentioned, Ty Jerome dropping in 28 points. Sam Merrill had a good defensive game, right? 14, Jared Allen, 12 points, How important will it be for Evan Mobley moving forward for the Cavs once they get to a series against, let's say, the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals?
I think really for Mobley, it's taken Bam out of the game in this series. And I saw a couple things early in the first half where he straight threw Bam Adebayo out of the club on a couple of different occasions in the low post. And that's exactly what you want to see out of Evan Mobley. You want to see him boxing out the Heat bigs the way that him and Jared Allen did all throughout game 1. You'll probably need more of Mobley in game 3 and 4 when this thing flips to Miami. That's when you need your role players and your other guys to really step up is on the road. But same thing, like when you look towards the next round, he's just got to be the same way against Miles Turner or against Giannis. You know, you got to be big, be physical down low. Same thing against Boston. Be physical with Porzingis, box out Porzingis. It's so nice that the Cavs have so many guys that offensively could get the job done that you don't need Evan to really go off for 20 necessarily every single game. So right now, I want to see Mobley continue what he did in game 1, and that's just take Bam out of the game.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
I agree. I mean, he did what he could. They weren't really going to him. When you have 3 guys combined for 85, that's not leaving a lot of shots for everyone else. And I mean, rightfully so, you're going to keep going back to the guys that are all almost combining for 30 points each. I think we're going to see Evan have good games this season. I mean, not this season, this series too as well. Honestly, it could be the next game. They're going to have to make an adjustment. You just watch Ty Jerome give you 30 points. He's probably going to see blitzes and double teams when he comes off ball screens next game. Same thing with Donovan Mitchell. So then now they're dumping it to Evan, and now he's making those plays off the short roll. So next game, he might have 25, and Jared Allen might get more involved, them working together. It's really just a game-to-game thing, but this team is so deep and so talented that it doesn't matter if one game someone has like 9 points because we're still going to get 120. We're still going to play great offense, and they're still going to succeed.
I want to ask you guys this, and I know this is game 1 of the series. It's the first game of the playoffs for the Cavaliers. It's so early, but a theme this whole year has been fourth quarter Cavalanches. I know a lot of people love sprinkling money on the Cavs live money line, and obviously the case was the same for game 1. They outscored the Heat 34-21. What about it as this team that they just have the gear that they just turn up in the fourth quarter?
It's kind of it reminds me of the LeBron teams a little bit. The fact that really game 1 in general reminded me of the LeBron teams a little bit because the Cavs, it wasn't that they were playing bad basketball over the last 14 days, 2 weeks to wrap up the regular season, but you could tell that they were testing things. They weren't truly playing Cavs basketball. So the fact that they just came scorched earth against the Miami Heat in game 1 was so fun because it felt like they flipped a little bit of a switch. And I think that's what the Cavalanche is. And what makes it so fun is that at any given moment, these guys all get hot at the right time. And it's like a switch gets flipped where they can pour on a lot of points in a short amount of time. And that's what you're going to need to get past the Heat. That's certainly what you're going to need to do in round 2, especially if it's Indiana who could score a lot of points. And that's ultimately how you beat the Boston Celtics with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, is you just try to shoot them out of the gym and outscore the Boston Celtics. It's fun. The Cavs could, guys, Cavalanche their way to an NBA Finals this summer, and what a run it would be for us on the Factor.
All right, well, we're going to take another break, but Rob, stick around because the Cavs played their first playoff game, but so did a lot of other teams, right? We got to break that all down. Rob, I know you're watching every single game, so we'll talk about that when we get back here on The Big Factor. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Nick Padone, Rob Watson went to the bullpen for Jack for a basketball segment here. We talked Cavaliers beating the Miami Heat in the opening game, of the opening round of the NBA playoffs. So now we look around at the rest of the NBA. I was able to tune in at halftime for the Thunder Grizzlies game. And I basically missed the whole game at that point because it was all been over. They beat the Grizzlies 131-80, a 50-point victory for the number 1 seed in the West. I believe the Thunder's biggest postseason victory ever, as well as a top 10 biggest postseason victory in the entire history of the NBA. Just an absolute butt whipping from the Thunder on the Grizzlies.
Do the Grizzlies stink, or are the Thunder that good? And that's the thing that we need to break down here.
The Thunder are that good. And I mean, the Grizzlies are just one of those teams. You fire your coach at the end of the season, and then you go in and you're just playing an absolute buzzsaw of a team. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander could not hit a shot, and they were still just up 50 points. And it wasn't even close. It's a terrible matchup. You got 2 bigs who are physical and one who's mobile, 2 7-footers. Zach Edey absolutely lost out there on the basketball court. They could lock in on Ja Morant. Desmond Bane wasn't helping out much. They were posting videos of his stats with Ashton Hall clips on Twitter. It was all bad for the Grizzlies.
When we stay out west, yeah, I think, honestly, Nick, that's a great question. I do think it is just the Thunder are that dominant and that deep. But we stay out west. Golden State, the 7 seed, get a victory over the 2 seed Houston Rockets, 95-85. Steph Curry, 31 points, 12 for 19 shooting. Butler, 25 points of his own. Rockets shot just 6 for 29 from the three-pointer. This was a concern. The Rockets were a good team, but they're young going against the Golden State Warriors with a plethora of playoff and championship experience. Golden State get off to the early lead.
I stayed up for this game. This game is a microcosm of what like the boomer era sports fan hates about the NBA, because the Houston Rockets couldn't get anything going and they just continued to chuck threes. And it really was, and I get that there's an age disparity, a big time. It was men playing against boys. I mean, the Golden State Warriors look like the battle-tested NBA championship team, despite being the much lower seed, and the 2 seed Houston Rockets at times looked lost because the shots weren't going in, and they didn't really have any sort of strategy or counter on how to slow down Steph, Jimmy Butler, and even Draymond Green and what he's able to do defensively. It really was a sloppy, bad first showing for these Houston Rockets. I picked the Golden State Warriors to win this series, and after game 1, I got to feel pretty good about that prediction.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's the same thing the Cavs go through, a lot of these young teams go through. Moment was just way too big for the Rockets last night. And I expect more from a guy like Fred VanVleet, who's been there, but just the absolute tour date he shot last night. Jalen Green.
Tour date.
No show. I mean, the Thompson twin, he was playing good defense, but he couldn't get anything to fall either. Really, Sengun's the only one who showed up, but it's hard to just keep going into a post-up big all game, especially against physical guys like Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, a wing who's very versatile and can switch. And then you got to keep up with Steph and Jimmy, who could just go down the court, and at any given moment, they're going to have a big run. They could just make it seem insurmountable at times.
Well, we'll flip it over to the East. The Celtics get the win over the Magic 103-86. And at halftime, the Magic were winning, but the Celtics pulled away late, outscored them 30-18 in the third, 25-19 in the fourth. Paolo had 36 points. That's expected, but not enough offense for the Magic as the Celtics get an early lead in the series.
That's going to be the tail of that series. I like that series is just not going to be close in my mind, similar to the Cavs Heat series.
Rob, you said 4 games, right?
They just can't score enough points. And I mean, even the Celtics looked a little sluggish too in that game as well. One thing to watch, Jaylen Brown, I don't think he looked the same with that knee injury. They said he got the injection. So, I mean, if he keeps looking like that, I like to see the Celtics down the line because they're not going to be operating at full force. But even with what they got, I mean, they're going to beat the Magic. They just can't keep up with them offensively.
All right, going to the games that happened Saturday. We talk about the Knicks and Pistons. Knicks get the victory 123-112. Rob, you said something that had me absolutely crying about JB Bickerstaff. Just a collapse in the fourth quarter from the Pistons, and the Knicks beat them.
I mean, I'm doing the JB Bickerstaff coaching model right now, man. My team, we were up, dominating the game. We're in it. Madison Square Garden, chance to steal it. 10-0 run, nah. 15, nah. 21, maybe now I'm going to call the timeout. We're out of the game now. It doesn't matter. But that's just what JB does. It's JB being JB, Nick. We watched it. It's typical. You can't expect it. They had a golden opportunity. They're probably going to get popped the next game now. That's really deflating. And then you drop one in Detroit and the series is just over.
Yeah. So. I had seen that movie so many times out of JB Bickerstaff in the playoffs over the last 2 seasons. Like, it makes me so much more grateful for Kenny Atkinson. It was vintage JB. The fact that Tobias Harris, remained on the court for as long as he did and then was benched and nowhere to be found. And JB just refused to use that last timeout. Hey, JB, the timeout's don't roll over into the next game. Adam Silver didn't create a rollover program for you. If you've got them in your back pocket, you might as well use them, especially if it's late in the fourth quarter and you're giving up a 21-0 run. Stop the bleeding. They don't roll over into the next game. And I think now the Pistons are going to get rolled, and this is all New York the whole rest of the way.
All right, last one I want to really dive into is a blowout in LA. The Lakers lose game 1, 95-117 for the Timberwolves. Luka pours in 36, but that's not enough. Anthony Edwards drops 22. Naz Reid off the bench drops 23. 25 for McDaniels, 16 for Randall. Too much for the Lakers to handle, and now they're going to be facing the Lakers on the back end.
This one was interesting. I don't know if Minnesota could keep that up for 4 wins. I mean, they did not miss a shot. If you had any bets on Minnesota threes or anything, DiVincenzo's coming in, hitting them from Curry range. But the Lakers, you don't have all this time to feel it out, and the Timberwolves are pretty battle-tested, so they really got to win this next game to stay in it. But I'm not scared. LeBron could switch it on. He had like 19 points. He could flip it on and have like 35 next game. Austin Reeves, solid contributor. Luka's gonna Luka. They just gotta. If the Timberwolves are shooting like that, it's hard to beat any team when they're putting up that many points.
Yeah, and I know like everybody Monday, wants to do the thing where they write the Lakers off for dead. I'm not going to do that, especially when they employ LeBron James and Luka. I think if there's anybody in the NBA, in the history of the NBA playoffs, that uses game ones as screw arounds and as feel outs, it's one LeBron James. I think he definitely felt out the Minnesota Timberwolves, and his brain is just like a basketball computer, and now it's downloading all of the information on what the Timberwolves did, and he will relay that to the rest of the team. I expect this one to be a competitive series.
He definitely understands it now. He's gonna get it next game. I would bet anything on Lakers to win the next game because he understands and they know.
All right, quickly, the other games we didn't really get to talk about. Pacers beat the Bucks 117-98. Kyle Kuzma puts up a Tony Snell stat line, and the Nuggets edge out the Clippers 112-110 in game 1 of that series. All right, when we get back, draft week is finally here. We'll give our last initial thoughts on what we think the Browns might be pulling when the draft rolls around when we get back on the Big Factor. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan, Tyler, Nick Padone. Jack O'Rourke is back. Another call to the bullpen. Shout out Rob Watson for filling in, talking
Best
about some
platoon in
basketball.
baseball, baby.
Guys, I can finally say it is NFL draft week. I can't believe it's already here, going to be taking place. Day 1 is Thursday night, of course.
How you guys enjoy it? Your first real draft process,
Yeah.
from covering
No, you're
this
right.
thing, the whole, how have you guys
You go
enjoyed
first,
it thus
Ryan.
far?
It's-
And happy draft week
it's
for you both.
Happy draft week, Nick.
It's been incredible. I think it's a very unique first ride, if you will. One, because, and there's smoke every single draft, don't get that twisted, but when we're specifically covering the Browns, there's just been, Shador Sanders has been one of the most interesting draft prospects we've seen in the last couple years. We don't know whether he's going to go in the first or early second. We don't know if the Browns are going to take a quarterback, trade back into the first. We just have no idea. It seems at this point in time, Travis Hunter is a lock at 2, but we know it's the draft and anything crazy can happen. I feel like we're in for one heck of a ride Thursday night.
Yeah, I think it's everything I dreamed of and more, because we still don't even know what's going to happen yet. And like we talk about all the time, all it takes is one team or one pick to go astray, and the whole entire draft can change. The Browns might have a plan thinking, hey, we're going to trade back in for this guy, or we're going to sit at 33. One thing goes awry, and the whole entire draft can change at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, I like that we've already got some early draft week reports from ESPN's Adam Schefter that the Browns have had conversations with the Tennessee Titans about trying to trade into that number 1 overall pick. Obviously, Andrew Berry told the media at the owners' meetings that that's unlikely, but it's interesting that the Browns are still making those calls. As you know, quarterback will be the most important thing that everyone watches once the assumed Travis Hunter pick is announced at number 2.
What would it take to get one?
Probably 2026 first round pick and more, and significantly more. Probably 33 overall, 2026 first round pick, and future third rounds.
I wouldn't even want to do that.
No, I wouldn't either. But it's funny. You see, we have a note here. Browns performed number 27th in the NFL draft over the last 5 years. I'm not exactly sure what those rankings are actually based on, but it doesn't surprise me. 0 top 50 picks the last 3 years. So at the very minimum, this will be a fun draft. You got a few in the top 50. You have a chance to get a franchise-altering player at number 2, and you reap the rewards, I'll say, of having a horrible season last year.
And I think the fans will like this year's draft because it's going to be a lot of offense. The last time that the Browns took a skill player in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft was Nick Chubb in 2018. It was the last time that they took an offensive skill player in the first 2 rounds. They've invested a ton into defense. Obviously, the Deshaun Watson trade messed things up in terms of first-round picks. They tried bolstering the offensive line in years before we've got to this point when they, drafted Jed Wills. That didn't pan out. So a lot of fun picks. I imagine a running back will be selected very early, a quarterback, and obviously the do-it-all Heisman winner, Travis Hunter, being the selection at number 2 overall. This should be a really fun week for us as the draft grows near. We'll be live on The Factor on social media every single morning, 10 a.m. Tune into us because we'll be here giving you the latest as we get closer and closer to Thursday evening. We'll be live Thursday evening as well.
Yeah, we got to take one more break. When we get back, we'll do a little draft buy or sell for our Cleveland Browns. And Jack, I want you to give me a little bit of update on these NHL playoffs, all right?
Let's do it, baby. Of course, best playoffs in the world.
All right, we'll be right back on The Big Factor. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Big Factor on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Nick Padone, Jack Reward. We're getting things wrapped up here. The NFL draft is just a couple days. Kicks off Thursday night in Wisconsin. I can't believe we're already here. Let's say we play a little buy or sell for our Cleveland Browns as the draft is right around the corner. We'll start here. Nick and Jack, buy or sell. The Browns will make a trade involving picks on night 1 of the NFL draft.
I'll sell that. I think that they could play the waiting game with their quarterback situation. I don't think they're in a rush. I think if they do trade up, it would be for Shedeur Sanders. I'm not buying, how about this, that Shedeur Sanders makes a dramatic enough fall where the Browns are the team that could trade up to get him. I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope they do find a way to do that because I think that would be really cool to get both of the Buffaloes and you look to sell the locker room and the team and the organization as a whole on hope. I think building around Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter after what they were able to do at college would instill a ton of hope in this organization. I just think Shedeur is going to be gone a little bit too early for that to happen as we sit here today on Monday.
So let me ask you this. When you're talking about that potential fall, it would have to go far enough for the Browns to trade up for Shedeur. Are you thinking if it's past the Saints? Or do you think it has to go even further?
I'm thinking, I don't think that Shedeur makes it out of the top 15. I think if he does, that's where things get interesting for the Cleveland Browns.
Jack, I want you to answer this buy or sell, but real quick, my draft prediction, my crazy draft prediction is Shedeur Sanders goes 12 to the Cowboys. And it's kind of like a Michael Penix thing from last year. That's my crazy
That's
prediction.
where I'm going to buy for that reason on this question. Because I think it's going to be a weird runoff where you're going to get Shedeur, whether it's New Orleans, Dallas, or anyone who's kind of hanging in that middle range, like someone between 5 and 15 takes him maybe. But then I'm going to go Jackson Dart gets taken as well in the first round by the Steelers. They go with their developmental quarterback. So now we're at 3 quarterbacks in the first round already. Andrew Berry hears the footsteps. He's not getting left out with Tyler Shuck because he knows he's losing his job. He's trading back in. 4's up.
And I just don't see it that way. I seriously, I don't think they're in a rush at all to find their quarterback. Like if they have to sit there and wait until round 4 for Kyle McCord or Shuck, like that's when they'll take their quarterback.
I'll go sell as well quickly here, guys. Buy or sell for the Browns. An OSU skill position player gets drafted to Cleveland.
I want to buy that so bad.
Yeah,
I'll buy
I know
it.
you do.
Let me buy it. I think just between Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins and Emeka Ibuka, if he somehow falls that far to 33, like there's so many fun players. So I'll buy it because I want to manifest that that's going to happen.
I personally am going to sell it, but I will speak on behalf of my dear coworker, friend, and boss, Mr. Ken Miles. I will buy this one because Will Howard will be a Cleveland Brown for him.
All right,
I want to put this out there too for the people that want to see Will Howard in Cleveland. I'm told loosely that the Browns don't think of Will Howard the same way that others in Ohio might. They have other former Ohio State quarterbacks higher on their draft board than Will Howard. I do know that for a fact.
All right, last one here quickly. It kind of already plays into what we said a little bit. But buy or sell, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter will both be on the Browns. I would love it, but I'm going to sell it.
I'll buy it because I'm going to buy it at a low price. You know, the fact of that happening is a long shot, so I'll buy the long shot that could happen. It's seldom that you hear Andrew Berry gush about things that he has throughout this process. He really likes Travis Hunter, really likes Milroe. I mean, Andrew Berry flat out said that he would like both of them, Hunter and Shedeur, with the number 2 overall pick. Obviously, that's a little bit of bluffing. That's a little bit of gamesmanship. But if you're willing to say that out loud, that you like the guy enough with the number 2 pick, you would certainly like him with the 15th pick, 16th pick, 17th pick. So I think the possibility's there. It just depends on how far Shedeur slides.
Yeah, I'm going to sell it. I don't think Shedeur ends up being the quarterback for the Browns as much as we were risks up for so long, and I love the guy, but I don't think he's coming to Cleveland.
Well, it's the NFL draft. Crazy things can happen. We're out of time. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Huge thanks to Fairway Ford. Huge thanks to Garage Beer. If you're watching this on the Rock Entertainment Sports Group, you got 2 more days till the NFL draft, so brace in. It's going to be a roller coaster. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and until then, we'll see you.